Welcome home. Glad to see you. Welcome to 601 Wednesday. Live on Wednesday, March 3rd. I think it's the 3rd. Atlanta. It's good to be with you. Welcome to my backyard, and this episode is called Yes in My Backyard. Yes, in my backyard. Before we begin, a couple of greetings to Louise, who entered the world today at 4:31. My grand niece. So excited. So glad that you are here. Congratulations to your parents, Elizabeth and Thomas. We are so glad that you are here. Welcome home. And a big thank you to all the church members and friends and the folks from 10 different congregations that work so diligently and beautifully together to plant 15, 16,000 little white flags on our church lawn in remembrance of those who died from COVID-19. Today, some of them were shaped into the image of a dove on our front lawn of the church. And so feel free to go by. It's a part of our prayer walk and our journey together, our journey of grieving and healing. So thank you. And just a quick announcement for the church before we do our meditation. Let me get the notes here. So we are offering an event on science and spirituality, and that will be on Thursday, March 18th at 7 o'clock on Zoom, and it's sponsored by the Atlanta Science Festival, as well as Gentle Spirit Christian Church and First Christian Church of Decatur. Every year we participate in a discussion with different scientists and theologians discussing science and spirituality. This year, of course, it's going to be on Zoom, and so you can register through the Atlanta Science Festival website. Okay, let's talk about Yes in my backyard. So, it really begins with not in my backyard. That's what we hear, and that's what a lot of folks sense. And another way of putting that is pull up the drawbridge after I'm across. There's a sense in our innate humanity, or in our selfishness, or in our need to protect ourselves, or what we think is ourselves, by shutting out or other groups or other communities. And so we create laws or rules or ways of being where we say, I don't want them here, or I don't want that, which might allow other people to come into my community. And so we put up these rules, and at the basis is this attitude of, I love low-income housing, or I love for there to be mental institutions, or I love for there to be soup kitchens for people who are hungry, but not in my backyard. Yeah, that's a great idea. I think we should do that, but I don't want it with me. So I'm actually coming to you live from my backyard so that we can talk about this honestly and up front. My father used to say that what people's attitude was, pull up the drawbridge after I'm across. In other words, when I get mine, that's good, but I don't want anybody coming in behind me. We're going to come back to that. I've been blessed to represent First Christian Church of Decatur on a task force called Affordable Housing Task Force, and it's sponsored by the city of Decatur, as the city and the community looks at how do we create and sustain affordable housing for those in our community. And we all know that housing is not affordable. You know it and I know it. And so how do we create homes and units for people who are firefighters and police officers and secretaries and the folks who live in who serve the city but cannot afford to live in the city? Those who have jobs but cannot live where they work because they can't afford to live where they work. What can we do about it? So the Affordable Housing Task Force, made up of 40 citizens from all walks of life in Decatur and around, has been discussing this for several years now and has come up with some proposals that some varieties of programs that are designed to sustain and create affordable housing for people from all walks of life, to implement ways to help senior citizens keep their homes, right? Because a lot of times they can't afford to stay where they are. To create land trusts where people can buy homes in a land trust and the home maintains its rate, and then when they sell it back to the land trust rather than the land becoming more and more expensive for the next homeowner. How can we support mixed income housing? There's some really good ways to do that. One way is to change the laws so that that communities are not just zoned single-family housing, but it can become multifamily housing. Or let's say I want to put a tiny house in my backyard so someone can live there, or change my garage into a unit for someone else to live there. Do this that makes sense. And we can do this if we have the will to do this. So these are some positives that we're coming up with. And there's so many benefits, as the folks who cannot afford the housing that's out there now are really who they have jobs, they have good reputations and wonderful people, but it's a matter of economics. So we can do this together. Also, we have encountered some resistance, right? There's always these challenges of people who resist it, and they have all kinds of good reasons for resisting affordable housing, but primarily it's not in my backyard. That's a great idea, but not where I live. Do that someplace else. Help. Oh, I think we should have affordable housing, but not on my block. And the response needs to be, we need to tell our story, okay? We need to tell our stories that are based on our values, okay? So what are our values? And if you think about what your values are, then suddenly that attitude might change. Let me give you an example. L'Arche, which is a unit, which is an organization that creates homes for caregivers and disabled adults, has a house in Oakhurst, Georgia, right next to Decatur, where there are 4 able-bodied adults and 4 either physically or mentally challenged adults living together in community, and they hang out on their front porch and they play games, and children in the community come and play games with them and get to know them and have become bonded with these adults and caregivers. A child from this neighborhood went to church camp, there was another child who was disabled. And other kids were picking on the disabled child. So the child who'd grown up on the same street as a L'Arche home decided, hey, I'm going to stand up for this one who's getting picked on, and befriended that child and defended that child. What a difference that made to the rest of the community. What a difference that made to that child who'd been picked on. What a difference it made to that child who lived in that community and got to know disabled adults and made that connection. This is in my backyard. These are my values. These are my friends. I can live with this and I can share this. That's a simple story that's true, and that housing is not just about units or value of property, and it's not just about a house, but housing is about lives. It's about families. It's about where we exhibit and share our values. It's about building the beloved community. Housing, in and of itself, does not need to be segregated. It doesn't need to be a place of isolation. It does not need to be a place of homogeneous society, okay? Housing can be a way to foster and build inclusion. It can be a way to build diversity. It can be a way to build a community that's vibrant, that's alive, that's hospitable, that's supportive of those who are there and those who are not there. Rather than saying, pull up the drawbridge after I'm across, after I get mine, you're on your own. Rather than saying that, what if we claim an attitude of lift up the ones who are coming behind? Lend a hand to those who are coming in behind you. That's a whole different attitude. What if instead of saying, not in my backyard, we say, yes, in my backyard. Yes, and in my backyard. Yes, I care about my brothers and sisters, and what can I do to make a difference? What is God calling me to do and to say and to share in this day, today, to make a difference in God's world? I want to build up the beloved community. I want to be a part of that, and not just for me, but for all my brothers and sisters, those whom I see and those whom I want to see in my backyard. Blessings and peace upon you. Let's see who's checking in. And we love you much. Let's see. Ruth is in the house. Hi, Ruth. And Thomas David Rosenberger. And Ruth and Barbara. And Peter. Hello. I'm so glad to see you. Jack. Yes. Unfortunately, it is that way. Yes. But we can do something about this together. All of us. Working and serving and loving God's people. I wish you well. Blessings and peace. I can't wait to see you on Sunday morning. Kaylee Hargrove is preaching, and God will be praised. Goodbye. Take care.